Right, so back on the drums template that we had from last time, I'm going to show you where I'd go from a drum beat into starting like some bass. So where we've got I've got the sub bass unit in there already. Everything's set how I usually have it. 2 octaves down, just up a little bit. This one's got a slightly smoother action, so I'm going to bring the attack down a little bit. And that down a little bit, just so it's smooth start finish. And I'm just going to put in a little pattern, like so. Get that on there. Yeah, get a little pattern in, and then we're going to start trying to put some other sounds over the top of it. All right, so if we'll go for F. All right. There we go. So we've got a little click at the end there. Don't know why. There we go. So we've got a sub note, single sub note hit. So if we put a melody that you all kind of know in. So for all you visual people out there, that's what Willow looks like. There we go. So we're getting a little pattern in. And it was pretty much the same again, but I moved the second note over. So there, we've got a little pattern in there. So now I want to add a sound. I'm never really too sure of what sound I'm going to use until I start creating. But again, that's all down. That's all in the creative process. Like your ideas will spark off more ideas as you're going through your process. So let's add another machine in. Let's get up a combinator actually, because I'll show you what combinator does. Like I said, it's just like a channel strip setting, saving. And let's get a patch that I've made in before. Where are you at? I reckon, let's try you. You that kind of patch. Oh, that's all right, we'll get this one out. This one's fine. We'll get this patch out here, because you know it. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I've got the patch there. Rather than trying too hard to write everything in all the time, I've got a patch there. I've got a melody in from before. Just grab that, drag it down, and it's going to be doing the same thing as the bass that you just put in. So now it's just about getting this part sounding right. Well, there she's really loud. All right, let's take that down a little bit. We've added a machine, so we shall flip around, plug her in. There we go, get a level. There we go, so there's a little melody. The patch doesn't sound the same as what it does in Willow, because it's not processed yet. But, so, make sure our EQs are right. So you see the peak of the sound is there. So we want to be cutting off all the stuff below it. Like that. So now shaping the sound, the single sound itself, will all be done with the amp and the filter envelope. The filter envelope is awesome because that will help the sound change filter within itself, and the amp envelope is what the sound does as a whole. Just going to move a few things around so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. So just a little bit of movement with a few different things, you can make so much different sounds. But the shape of the single hit sound, like you jump up guys, you want it, I know you want this out there, you need them big single hit sounds. So, the attack, decay, sustain and release, this is where you're gonna get that, all you guys that want the whomps out there, it doesn't matter what sound you're using, it's about the shape of the sound that you make. So, the attack is, again, how quick that sound starts. So, I've got a sound, I've got the sound doing a certain shape now. I like the shape it's making. It's kind of a whap sound. So the other thing about bass as well is you will have your primary sound. That is the sound that you're like, oh, what's that? That's the main sound. But you've got there's layers underneath sometimes that you can like boost up a little bit. I always have pretty much in most of my tunes a layer of like light crunch. I call it the scene because whenever I explain it to people, they're like, ah, scene. So yeah, let's add one of those. It's literally pretty much a square wave of all the bottom end cut out, just following the same pattern as our pattern. So let's add another machine. We'll go down to our device, same as before, but different device. So let's get a mouse shim up, flip around, plug her in. Very, very important. Because this is what's going to keep your mix together in Reason, is by making sure that you've got all your right things plugged into the right place. Okay. Right. So I've got a nice sub bass level. I'm going to want to mix this lead into it. And you'll see with this extra layer, like I do, there's a lot of guys that do it out there as well. It literally is a little crunch. So I'm just going to go to my my synthesizer. Very simply, any synthesizer has a square wave setting, so I just put mine down to square, and on mine I whack my octaves down too. And we can just literally copy that pattern again, straight down. I don't know if you can hear the little crunch. That's just the addition of this mouse drum, which I'm going to call scene. Scene. There we go. A little bit of love on the attack and release, and again, it doesn't have to be as long a sound, so it's fine there. I'll show you on its own. That's pretty much literally it. So go to the EQ of this sound, and we'll get rid of the low end. It's got kind of a dingy sound to it, which I don't really want. I want it to, let's actually lengthen that out. That's better. Just get rid of that. Right. And that's a nice little crunchy layer that I put into my basses. There we go, get rid of that. And if we bring it in and out of the mix now, it doesn't sound much, but again, it makes the world of difference. If we unmute our drums now, and put it with our drums. Again, like I said, like I always say, make sure when you're doing your bass stuff, always go back and mix it against your drums as well. Because if you're doing something constantly for a long time, you'll end up thinking it's good, thinking it's sounding great, and then you'll play it with your drums and something's not right, something's wrong. So. Now I'll show you. It's so subtly in there. But it makes all the difference. Right, so I've just turned the threshold for the side chain down a little bit because I think I had it up so I could hear things, but. So if you hear, I just literally put enough side chain on so it sounds like it's giving a little swell. So here, this sound here, the Skrillo sound that we've got, it sounds a little bit muddy at the bottom end for some reason now. So. So, clean that up a little bit. So we've got them tones there. So we know that this is in F. There we go. So we are in the key of F right now. So your answer basses. So what an answer bass is, so you'll have a main melody like this, which is cool. You can have a melody, but if you have that single melody going the whole way through your track, just doing that with nothing else, it starts to sound really monotonous. So try the call and answer theory. So if you've got one thing saying something, when that's done, have something answering it. So I'll give you a little example of that. So we're going to do this melody now. So an answer base can be something as little as a single hit to the whole last 4 bars. 2 bars even, sorry. Or anything, it could be the end of anything. As long as you've got something kind of coming after the bit before, it's an answer. You can do long bass answers, you can do short bass answers. A lot of people do tracks and it's like 2-bar call and answer. So you'll have something doing 2 bars and then it will switch to something else with 2 bars and something doing 2 bars and something switching again. Or you can have this kind of theory, which is like the 8-bar or 16-bar melody theory, where you just do a melody and then you do something at the end of your melody for a couple of bars or 4 bars, or however many. But right now, I'm just going to do like, I'm going to do a single hit answer in this, and I'm going to copy all this over again now, like this, and the last bit I'm going to miss out. And I'm going to put a single answer in between each of the 2 bars, and then I'm going to put a different answer at the end. So an answer could be anything. Let's just search for another patch now. Actually, let's add a machine first. There we go. So we go down to the bottom, add ourselves another device. If you add a so Reason users, if you add a combinator when you're looking for patches, you can go through any patch. It'll let you open any patch in the whole of Reason. So that really helps when you're searching for stuff. So let's open a combinator. We'll flip around, plug her in. Just like that. And let's go back to the synth, to the combinator. We'll click on the load, and let's just get another patch out. So let's go for this one. So we have another lead in here now. And I'm going to add an answer at the end here, and I'm going to add an answer here, and then a big answer at the end. But again, like I said, you don't have to do it this way. You can do it any way you like. Okay. That's really loud. Let's turn that down a bit. Down to there. And let's just let this play out for a sec. Right, okay, so I'm going to do a single answer. Right. Just there. Okay. Okay. Let's change the note, because I think it sounds better there. So just that single note answer there. Okay, so with a single answer, obviously we've got the answer sound, so if you just come in, we want to put this note in our sub bass as well. If you just mark where your note starts and remember what note you're on, just go to your sub bass and you can just write that in. Okay. And again here, just write that note in. And I just kept it on the same one just so it's easy to put in. Like that. Okay, so one more we've got to put in. And I'd probably do the same thing with my other bass as well. So if you do it all with one, the scene is usually pretty much what the sub bass is doing. So you can just get rid of it, just put that down. Or you can just go into that box and write it in like I just did with the other one. And then you've got like a constant that's running all the way through. Even though your patches might be changing, that little crunch in there kind of helps your bass keep a constant level it's perception. So let's go back to here now. That's all in the right place. So we've got our layers of our bass in there. I've got my answer bass in. I've got the extra layers for the answer. And at the end, let's put a different sound in completely, just so it does something else. Let's use a wave. So this time, let's use a wave sample. I want to find, back to trusty old Splice. Let me just load that up while we're here. Again, with my drums, I spoke to you on the drums lesson before. I'm an avid user of Splice. It's absolutely fantastic. Highly recommend getting it. Purely because of it's just so easy to find stuff in the right key when you're looking for stuff in the right key. And you'll end up getting like you save your sample bank of your samples within Splice, so you kind of end up making your own select sample bank, and you can literally put collections in. You can customize it how you like. But right now I'm going to be looking for an answer bass. So let me go to all my downloads right now. We're in the key of F. So I'm going to go E. I'm going to put my answer in E. I'm going to look for bass. I'm going to go through a few sounds and see if something sounds nice. That's kind of cool. So just in it. So if I just pull that from there, and I'm going to whack it onto my screen on its own channel, like that. And let's get it plugged in, because it's a new machine now. It's in the right place for bass. There we go. Turn around, flip around, plug her in. Up you go. There we go. So let's plug that into there. Okay. Okay, so zoom back into this so we can see what we're doing. Here, so let's just put this bar onto 1/8 so we can see where the bars are at. I want to stretch this just so it's this loop is in time with something. So even if it starts on the kick and there we go. So again, sometimes you find something that works, sometimes you find something you don't. It kind of does, but I don't like it. Let's try something else. This is the other thing with production. You're going to come across this a lot. You're going to be going through stuff. You're going to find that perfect sound, and it just will not sound right in your track. So rather than wasting loads of time trying to make it sound right in your track, just carry on. Just carry on looking for something else. All right, so let's whittle it down a little bit more. I'm going to put the word synth in my search. Yeah, that's kind of cool. So we're going to grab this bass. Even though it's really long, we don't need it all. We don't need it all at all. So I'm just going to cut that there. Get rid of that. And I think I'm going to stretch it out so it does that. There we go. So like some mad little sound at the end. Answer bass. I'm actually going to put it on that channel because I've plugged that one in already. So let's get rid of that channel. I've got my sound on the channel now. Right, sound So let me just minimise this so we can see what we're doing. Show devices, minimise. So I don't know why that's muted. Oh, why is that muted? Oh, that's soloed, that's why. There we go. See, we can all get baffled sometimes, guys. So it sounds a little bit dead at the minute, that sounds, but a little bit of EQing, a bit of processing, you can boost it up. So again, let me just get to the end of this loop so we're not just going around the whole thing. So just do this bit here. Let's have a look at the EQ. Because it's a long note, I only really want the tone of this. I can put my own sub under this. But the high end, non-existent. So let's just turn our EQ on, try and boost this end up a little bit. So there we go, we've got a nice WAV sound that we put in. We know that this is in the key of E. So let's just get rid of that. So I'm now going to go into my sub again and just write a note of E into here. So E is there, like that. Right, okay. Right, we're all plugged in, definitely all plugged in, that's all good. Back to our levels. It still sounds a little bit muddy on the sample sound, so I'm just going to move the EQ until I feel like it sounds a bit better, or see if I can dip some places out to make it sound a bit better. But yeah. So sweet. That sounds nice and fits in there. I still feel like there's a tone missing between them sounds. So I'm going to get a patch up that I use again. So another really important thing about your sounds is if you're making sounds and all you can hear is bass and there's no kind of like presence in the middle, add a tone that's in the middle and just bring it into the mix until you feel like it fills it up, you know. So let's add another patch in that I've got. Same again, we'll go Maelstrom. Flip around, plug her in. There we go. Right, mid-tone. So I'm going to go to my patches. I've already got a mid-tone made, and it's called Die Bass. Shouts to Die, nice one, mate, for the inspiration. So yeah, this tone is literally just a mid-range tone. We're going to go to the EQ and make sure that it's cut off on the low end. But let's put some notes in there first so we can hear it. I just want that note there, like that. Right, so there's that mid-tone. It's a bit loud at the minute, and it comes in faster than the bass sample that we're using. So if you hear on the bass sample, it kind of comes in slow, like that. And that's down to just moving the attack up. So if you hear that sound now, and even already you can hear the thickness building. So we just want to get rid of that mud at the bottom, like that. So, have we left it as mixed channel? No. There we go, mid-tone. So we haven't processed this at all yet. So I'm going to put some EQ on the mid-tone a little bit, added thickness a bit. So that's all it is that adding to our bass. Just adds that thickness to your bass, you know. Bit of unison, kind of spreads the sound out a little bit. I don't like to use too much on monotone kind of sounds. So we've got that extra bit of thickness underneath for your WAV sample. Right, and also the WAV sample that we've put in sounds a little bit dry. So now we've kind of got it in the right place, we've got another sound to thicken it up. I want to put that sound in a room, give it a bit of dynamic space. So I'm going to do that with the sounds that live above the bass. So I'm not going to do it with the mid-tone because the mid-tone's still living like towards that monotone area. I'm going to do it to the other sounds that we've put in. So the sample that we've put in, this one right here, I'm going to again go to a reverb unit, one that just gives you room control, and then to my bass cut off, so only the high ends kind of being the bit that's being reverbed. Let's have a listen to that now. And it just sounds a little bit more like it's living within the mix. Just at the fact it's got a little tiny bit of room size on it. Play it alone. Right. Right, we've got a click and a half on there. So once again, I don't know why that's doing that. So let's just go in and just get rid of the beginning and the end of the sample, just so we've got no clicking. So just like that, and get rid of the click at the end. That should be clean. There we go. So straight away, the room control is giving it the sound of being in a space. Alone. Okay. So just give it a little tone of being inside a room. So again, a lot of these things you might not even hear too much on the track. It just helps with the dynamics, the moulding of everything together. It gives it an organic sound rather than it sounding like a cardboard sound, you know. There we go. Probably put a little bit more on because it'll die a little bit in the mix. Right, there we go.
Another 10 minutes. Yeah.
What's that?
About another 10 minutes of recording.
Yeah, and we're done.
And we'll stop there.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
That's fine, mate. Right, so we've got a little bit of dynamics space now on that sound. Sometimes when you're adding reverb and a little bit of stuff, it kind of like backs the volume out a little bit. So you might want to boost that sound up a little bit after you've put some. So we've got them sounds, or we've got that nice sound there. I now want to put a tiny bit of reverb onto my scene sound to put that into the room as well. It sounds very, very dry right now. So very quickly I'm going to add a Valhalla like I did with the last one. I'm going to leave it running and show you. There we go. See that tiny bit? Put that up there. Put it on a bright room. Bit longer. There we go. So a little bit of dynamics on there as well. And the only thing left on our oversounds is the Skrillo lead, so I'm going to put a tiny bit on this as well. Although it sounds like we've already done it. I think we've got one on there maybe. Or we've got an effect, yeah. So there, I've got a bit of reverb in there already. So I'm actually going to leave that like that. That's good enough for me. Oh, there we go, a bit of drive. And I'm just going to add one note of scene on that last bit because I think I missed out. There we go. There we go. I'm actually going to delete that last one because I didn't snap it in right. Put that there like that. So now we've got our basses like processed with a little bit of sound. So they don't sound like they're in a box. They sound like they're in a space now. Play this together with our drums. And that is where we're going to do that like that. So if I play the whole thing together. Oh, I've just messed with the level. Change it. Now see, I've had to boost the treble on the scene a little bit just because you could hear it when we was playing the basses alone, but now I've got the drums there, it's like it's drowned. So just boost until you can. Just gives you that little crunch on the sound. Right, so if we just go out and listen to the whole thing from here to there. And there you have yourself a complete bass loop. Layers, sub bass, answers, and all. There's other things that you can get into with your bass and that, but where we're doing a quick run through from beginning to end, we've got our drums now, we've got good enough bass now, and this is the point where I'd probably step back, start finding samples for my intro, start planning out my intro, deciding how long it's going to be, and then running with that. So yeah, from this point, I'm going to leave it here. We've taken you from bass processing to sampling to resampling. I hope you enjoyed everything that you've seen on this edition. We'll see you next time. Thank you very much.